More than a decade after college student Faith Hedgepath was found allegedly brutally raped and murdered in her North Carolina apartment, investigators believe they may have finally found her killer.
A young woman is beaten to death in her own bed. Her attacker leaves behind a taunting note, and then his DNA sits in a database for 9 years before anyone can put a name to it. This is the case of Faith Hedgepath, and it's a story about how forensic science can hand investigators the answer on day one and still take almost a decade to actually solve the crime. In September of 2012, Faith was 19 years old and heading into her third year at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill.
In September of 2012, 19-year-old Faith Hedgepath was entering her third year at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill.
She was staying temporarily in a one-bedroom apartment with a friend while she sorted out her own housing. By every account, she was the kind of student professors remember. She was involved with her sorority. She was proud of her Native American heritage. Connected to the Haliwa Saponi tribe, she had just spent a normal Thursday night doing normal college things. A sorority event, a study session at the library, then out to a nightclub with her roommate that let in anyone 18 and older. Nothing about that night suggested it would be her last.
What happened from there became a mystery that wouldn't have answers for years, or potential answers for years.
Her roommate says they got back to the apartment around 3 in the morning, and Faith went to bed. The roommate left again around 4:30. She and another friend returned close to 11 the next morning, and that's when they found Faith, unresponsive, in the bedroom.
An initial protective sweep and located Hedgepath dead in a bedroom on a bed face up. Miss Hedgepath's
What
body...
officers walked into was a crime scene that made clear this was no accident. Faith's body was found on the bed, partially hanging off the edge, above a pool of blood. There was blood spatter on the closet, and in the middle of the bed, investigators found a note scrawled on a takeout bag, taunting whoever would eventually read it.
And according to police, in the center of the bed was a note, seemingly written in pen on a white takeout food bag, and it said, quote,
"An autopsy would later confirm Faith died from repeated blunt force trauma to the head." Investigators believe the weapon was an empty liquor bottle recovered at the scene, one that reportedly still had blood and tissue on it.
According to the Daily Tar Heel, found that Faith was beaten to death. You are talking serious blunt force trauma to her head. The News and Observer reports that investigators believe she was hit repeatedly with an empty Bacardi rum bottle, which reportedly had blood and tissue on it.
And here's the detail that should have cracked this case almost immediately. The killer left his DNA behind, not just on Faith. Around the scene, this wasn't a case where police were working with a fragment or a partial profile. They had a real usable sample. So why did it take 9 years? Because for 9 years, every claim, every lead, every "surely it's him" moment collapsed the second it hit the lab. The first name on investigators' list was a man who had dated Faith's roommate.
Who quickly shot to the top of the person of interest list, a man named Eric Takoy Jones. Now, Jones had apparently dated Faith's roommate, Karina, but they'd broken up, reportedly after there'd been some domestic violence in the relationship, or at least that was the allegation.
Their relationship had reportedly turned abusive, bad enough that a restraining order had been filed against him just weeks before the murder. After he kicked in 2 doors during a domestic incident, Faith had allegedly encouraged her roommate to file that order in the first place, which gave this man a motive investigators couldn't ignore. He'd made threats. He'd shown up at the crime scene tape after the murder and had to be removed. He'd posted a cryptic message online the day before Faith died, asking to be forgiven for sins he hadn't committed
quote,
yet.
"Dear Lord, forgive me for all of my sins and the sins I may commit today. Protect me from the girls who don't deserve me and the ones..."
It read like a confession waiting to happen.
"Me and the ones who wish me dead today." Jones apparently told detectives he last saw Faith at the nightclub, but Jones's DNA, here's the kicker, not a match for the semen found at the crime scene. So investigators, they were back to square one.
Then his DNA came back. It didn't match. Claim collapsed. Investigators moved on. Next, they turned to nightclub surveillance footage from that night, which showed Faith and her roommate interacting with several other men before they left. One by one, police tracked those men down and asked for DNA samples. One by one, those samples came back negative too. By 2016, 4 years in, investigators were desperate enough to try something unconventional. They commissioned a DNA phenotyping report, essentially predicting physical traits from genetic markers, to generate a composite sketch of what the killer might look like. It suggested a Latino man with olive skin, dark hair, hazel, or brown eyes.
Police released a composite sketch that was created by Paraben Nanolabs. It's based on the suspect's DNA. It's called phenotyping. It reportedly indicated that the suspect was likely Latino with olive-colored skin, brown or hazel eyes, black hair.
It was a description. It was not a name. And without a name, it was nearly useless. So ask yourself, if you had the killer's genetic fingerprint sitting in evidence the entire time, why does an investigation stall for years? The answer is uncomfortable. DNA only solves a case the moment it matches something or someone already in a system. Until then, it's just a very expensive question mark. Then, almost exactly 9 years after Faith's murder, everything changed in a way nobody investigating the case saw coming. Police in an unrelated DUI stop collected a DNA sample from a man named Miguel Salguero Olivares. He was 33 years old. He had never appeared on investigators' radar. Not as a person of interest, not as a name in a witness statement, nothing. That sample went into the system,
He had made
and it
an
matched.
arrest in Faith's murder. Miguel Salguero Olivares, the now 33-year-old, hadn't been on their radar at all. Officials reportedly obtained his DNA during a DUI investigation a few days before the announcement, and that is when they matched it, or apparently matched it, to the sample at the scene.
9 years of dead ends, and the break came not from a breakthrough in the Hedgepath investigation itself, but from a routine traffic stop that had nothing to do with Faith at all. In 2021, law enforcement announced the arrest.
While we understand that nothing can fill the holes in your hearts, we hope that knowing that a suspect has been arrested and is off the street reassures you that we are one step closer to justice for Faith. Sometimes justice is swift, other times it takes longer. Today, after 9 years and a week, an arrest has been made in the murder of Faith Hedgepath. Today's important announcement proves the power of partnership, persistence, and the potency of DNA.
Any connection?
Salguero Olivares was charged with first-degree murder, first-degree burglary, first-degree rape, and first-degree sexual offense. He pleaded not guilty to all four. What's chilling is that even now, investigators still can't fully explain any connection between him and Faith.
Entered a not guilty plea on his behalf to 4 charges: murder, rape, sexual offense, and burglary, all in the first degree. Jury selection supposed to start in September. But even before that, attorneys were in court this week to go over the very important pre-trial motions. These motions that will dictate what a trial will look like, right? What evidence can come in, what has to be considered. And I really want to dig into some of these requests because
no prior relationship, no known encounter, just DNA at the scene of a crime 9 years earlier. The case is now moving toward trial in Durham County, and pre-trial hearings have already exposed just how complicated cold cases become once they finally reach a courtroom. Attorneys have argued over which forensic techniques are even scientifically sound enough to present to a jury. The defense has raised questions about other people connected to that apartment the night Faith died. None of it changes the core fact that sent investigators looking for a match for nearly a decade. This man's DNA was there at the scene the entire time.
This one is different. The crime was committed in 2012. The DNA profile on the crime scene was found. We knew that the DNA was there. The person who did this left their DNA all over.
If Salguero Olivares is convicted, he faces life in prison.
Now, as far as the defendant here, Salguero Olivares, he goes to trial in Durham County starting September 28th. If he is convicted, he is facing a life sentence. As for Faith's family, the Chapel Hill community, they are hoping this will finally mean justice for a young woman who had such a bright future.
For Faith's family and community, this case has never really been about the science. It's about a young woman who packed more into her final ordinary Thursday than most people do in a week, who never got to finish what she started at Chapel Hill. Her legacy now lives on through a memorial scholarship that helps Native American women from her tribe pursue higher education. Exactly the kind of future that was taken from her.
Forget her.
According to the News and Observer, there is now a Faith Hedgepath Memorial Scholarship Fund, helps Native American women from a North Carolina tribe earn a higher education.